Kids don't remember what you try to teach them. They remember what you are. Hello and welcome to the very 7th episode of Topher Talks. I'm your host, Topher Billups, here today with Mark Smithson and Joel Fishbacher. Today, we'll be discussing Jim Henson, the famous puppet master. The quote at the beginning of this episode was a quote from him. With an astounding introduction of talent, Jim Henson moved the puppeting world through TV and is still moving it right along from beyond the grave. Jim Henson's start gave the puppet world something they needed. Starting his childhood, James Murray Henson was born on September 24th, 1963, at King's Daughter Hospital in Greenville, Mississippi. His life in Greenville was fun, catching critters and reading books. His favorite book and movie was The Wizard of Oz, which later inspired his love of TV. Moving into his teenage years, his families got their first TV in 1949. Watching The Life of Snarky Parker inspired his love of the big screen and his hope to be on one. In 1948, the Henson family officially moved to Hyattsville in Washington, D.C. so his father could better work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Soon after graduating from high school, Jim performed for the first time on TV with a low-budget, student-acted children's show called Junior Good Morning Show, which ended a few weeks after it began. Henson's work on the Junior Good Morning Show was noticed by CBS. In 1955, WRC-TV management gave Henson a spot for his very own show called Salmon Friends, which is where he first showed Kermit the Frog. And with college over, it's time to take puppets seriously, and Henson goes straight to the most serious puppet place, Europe. He needs to get good with puppets if he wants to make it big on TV. Jim Henson pushed the puppets through TV. Returning from Europe, Jim Henson decided that it would be the best to work on TV and create newer and more realistic-looking puppets to appeal to the audience. And in 1957 comes joy and cheer for the Muppets when they start on commercials that make them household names. With the commercial jobs comes new puppets. Some Muppets we associate with being the first ones who were created for companies to sell things, such as Ralph the dog being created to sell dog treats. The next big leap in Mr. Henson's career is full-size puppet. The first being a dragon that used the same mechanics as the famous Big Bird. Big Bird was created to help sell frozen foods and had a monitor in the suit to help Jim Henson see. Finally, with the 1960s just around the corner, Jim Henson's operation became Muppet Incorporated. With 2 kids, a wife, and a few years of experience under his belt, the Hensons packed up everything and moved to New York to start in a sitcom that will never come to life, called Mad Mad World. And an idea that had been brewing in Henson's head for a while came out in an explosion with him putting all his puppets together to form a group called the Muppets. Henson, with the help of 2 other writers, created a Cinderella retelling that is the first official Muppet movie. Ending the 1960s is Henson's most ambitious project yet, Sesame Street. Sadly, his life only lasted for another 30 years. Henson still affects the puppeting world after he passed away. Only a year after his father's premature death, Brian Henson inherited the company, which included the parts Jim Henson had left behind: Jim Henson's Creature Shop, the Henson Soundstage, and the Henson Recording Studio. Henson's career had caught the eye of Disney, and they had partnered to create The Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, Mere Mask, and Jim Henson's Turkey Hollow. Jim Henson's puppets have become a $1 million company by themselves, famously teaming up with big names in movies and television. His creation, Sesame Street, had become big business, starting the Sesame Workshop and pairing with Apple. Henson moved the puppeting world to new heights, with the extension into TV growth of puppets' love in current times. And his childish puppets have 15 kid-friendly movies under their name. It's Henson's TV that inspired the podcast episode, yet his music has a lot to do, since all his children's shows record music as well as having his own recording studio. It wasn't his death in 1990. It wasn't his start in Mississippi. And it wasn't his knowledge and experience of TV, but rather a combination of all three that makes Jim Henson the greatest puppeteer of this century and the last. Jim Henson was great from high school to the 1960s. He was even better when he was working during the 60s. He felt life was a happy song, and his company felt the same way, even without him. And this concludes our Jim Henson episode. Thank you for listening. This has been Topher Talks. Goodbye.